Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and to this build of the small Pilatus PC6 Turbo Porter. So a little bit of progress from last time. Last time I think I left you with all the nose section in very chunky pieces, so I've managed to carve it and sand it down. I've done the underside of the fuselage part of the cowling. The top I'll do then when I have the top pieces in place. But before I go on with that one, what I've started to do, I've started with the landing gear. The landing gear is just a piece of wire. I think you can see it here. This is the tail wheel, let's call it. And also what I've started to do with the landing gear is then the main gear. Now the main gear, let's see if you can see it, I think consists of two major pieces. According to the plan it's three, I don't know why not two, but I'm going to try to do it with two. One which will hold the wheels, will stand somehow, will be somehow presented like this, and then there's going to be also another piece that has to go back to this point, so it doesn't go backwards. So I've done the part with the main component, and now I've got to figure out how to do the other part, which I think it's going to be relatively easy to bend but very complicated then to bind to this piece, right? Because that is then as always, I'm not good at soldering, and I've got to figure out how to do it in a way that I can actually bind it together, and then maybe with glue and thread like I did with Antonov to actually get it together. So first thing, I'll try to get a piece of wire, bend it to shape, and then see how I can get it into the position. I then have two small wheels. I have two, this is one, I'm not sure how big it is. I took it off another of the models that actually I scrapped. This is like 1.5, a little bit more than, it's like 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit less. It's a bit big according to the plan, but it's what I have. So we're going to go with that, and so that's for the landing gear. Hopefully it'll go okay, and then the next part will be also the engine. So the engine, I found some rubber band motors that I did in the past. Probably not too successful, so I'll see what I can figure out. I might need to go and get some more rubber motors. Are a science in themselves and quite challenging. So in any case, I'll try to start with that, and then hopefully at the end we have an airplane or fuselage that has a motor and that stands on wheels. So it won't fly, of course, it won't have wings, but that's the aim for this chapter. So a brief update on the undercarriage and nose section. So I've gotten to the point that I'm kind of happy with what the undercarriage looks like. I don't know if you can see it. I've connected the rods, let's say, with wire. It's still loose. Still the next step will be to tie them, bind them with some cotton thread and then with super glue, but that is kind of okay. This frame, it says here it's 3/16. I'm not sure how much that is, so I've put in 4mm, which is somehow along that line, I hope. And then I've also presented this, no, I can't get it in here. Here, this will go somehow like this. The bottom part that you can't see it, right? The bottom part that is sticking out will be bound to the frame, and this glued on top will be the top part of the cowling. So now I've got to wait for this to set, and then I think it's going to be okay. I'll still need to do some shaping. This is former A, which is really very small. That's supposed to go in here, which is a little bit too big. So I'm thinking now that I probably overdid it with the sanding of the side of the engine. I shouldn't have maybe done it so far. So let's see. I might need to put in some more wood there to fill in to make sure that this kind of sits nicely and flush and smooth. So we'll see. So lessons learned is not to do the sanding so early on, or leave some reserve still, at least 1 or 2mm, especially on this size. So that's okay. Next step is going to be to cut out the next former that goes in here, and when the undercarriage is somehow set and dry, to try to put it on, and I still have to find a way of fixing the wheels on there. So I'll be using probably Cliff's recommendation of using what are these called? Not tiddlywinks, the little round things that have a hole in the middle that I used on this undercarriage here. Can't remember what the name are called. I'll remember. New update on the Turbo Porter. So what I've been up to, I've been putting the landing gear. as you can see. I did manage to somehow sandwich in the wire of the main landing gear between two pieces of balsa. I was trying to follow the shapes as accurately as possible, but they ended up to be too big, so I had to carve it down and then sand it down. I think now it's kind of okay. It doesn't seem to be very much space for the windscreen, but it somehow seems to fit the plan. And I've also put in the two braces. Again, I probably cut them too big because this one was actually designed to be that one, but anyhow, now it kind of fits. It's still going to be then the challenge that I've probably sanded down too much on the side. And then the next step on this is probably going to be to put in some balsa strips. I think it says here like to put in 2 sheets. I don't think I would manage that. I could either do it out of card, which I'm not good at. I'll put maybe some 1mm balsa strips, maybe just 1 by 1mm or even 2mm wide somehow, and then shape it, get it to shape, sand it down, and then later then tissue it. So that's then the progress with the wheels. Yes, what I did, I followed again what Cliff says. I used some sequins, I remember the word now, some sequins, and what I was doing on some other models was I tied it around the wire with some thread and then dropped some super glue. I'm not using the super glue because I'm not a fan of it, then my fingers get stuck, so I'm just using the normal white glue, but it seems to hold. And let's see if I don't break it. Oh, if I don't break it, see, it does kind of roll. It rolls kind of straight, which is good if I don't break it like this. So that is somehow for the landing gear, seems to be okay, bound here and also with a spot of glue, so that it's kind of solid enough. Still getting a little bit heavy actually. I could wait and see how much it is. Now the next step is going to be to put on the motor. Before I actually put on the balsa wood, I want to try to develop the motor, and this is where the problem comes of what rubber motor to use. Now here it says somewhere here, power with one loop of 1/8 rubber, twice the length between hooks and pretension, or 8 strands of dot of 0.035. No idea what that means. 1/8 rubber, I think that's quite big. And one loop, I'm never sure if that loop means that the whole loop is that distance or the rubber is that distance and then in half. So I'm not really sure. Anyhow, but I've pulled out all the rubber that I have, and I have to somehow pick what I have. I have this. I have actually 2 packets of this. This one is almost finished already. This is 1.5mm square. Somehow inclined to do this because it's relatively soft and it could actually work. That's one candidate. I've got some motors from other models or some other experiments already pre-tensioned. This one, but this one is not twice the length because the peg would be here, so it would need to be kind of twice the length of this, and I'm not sure. I think this might be that same material, so I'm going to need probably quite a lot more, or maybe that is okay because it was already somehow pre-wound. And then I've got other pieces of rubber that I don't think I'll be able to use. This one, which is flat, this is probably going to be too big because it's not going to fit in there, so probably put this one aside. This one is thicker for sure, and this is very long. It's some motor, I'm not sure for what. I think I use it for the Thunderbolt maybe, I'm not sure, but this one is too big, so I'm also leaving that one aside. And then I've got in this other bag, I've got this piece which is flat, but is what they told me at the shop that is kind of the best thing in town, let's say, the best rubber in town, and I believe them because they know more than I do. Only it might again be a bit too thick. I'm afraid it might be too thick to go in because it's quite a small construction there. And then I've got some of these Willows rubber bands from the kits. Don't think I'll use that one, but probably would be the easiest. And I got this other huge thing, which again I think it's some attempt at braiding some motors, probably I'm guessing from the Thunderbolt, but I'm not sure. So these are too big. So from what I have, it's either what they recommend in the shop, that I hope it's enough, or the 1mm, which is less than 1/8, because 1/8 is like 2mm, right, 2.5. And try to braid something come up with something and then test it. Anything will work, right? But the point is that it works the best, not just that it just turns the propeller, but that it works the best. So anyhow, that's going to be then the next challenge, rummaging through my rubber band. Hooray! So there's some thrust. In the end, I went with the rubber motor I'd already had braided. I managed to put in around 200 winds, maybe 150. No, I could have put I think more, but my digital winder, digital being my fingers, does not count so exact. I had to put a little bit of weight that flew off from the back. I tried it also on the carpet before, and it did not have enough thrust to move forward, but on the smooth floor it did manage to move forward, as you could see. I hope I captured some of that on the video, and I think I'll go with this, at least for the moment. The rubber motor can then be changed if needed, but for the moment at least I'm going to try this, and I'm going to leave then the chapter here, because then the next steps is going to be the tail surfaces and the wings, and then the tissue covering and all these things, and the top of the cowling. So still quite a lot to do. In any case, as always, thank you very much for following along and for watching and for all your tips and recommendations, and I'll see you next time.